Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
You're caught in a time and place called work. But then, you see a vision of what it might look like one day to not work. But with all the conflicting advice and unknowns, such as taxes, investment risks, and at what point in time can you comfortably use and enjoy your money? You're caught in a space far beyond all reality. One that on your own, you can never escape. Until now. Welcome to the Retirement Zone.
Okay, was that good? Cool? All right, cool. Thanks. Thanks, guys. I'm going fishing. See you later.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, best-selling author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
It was called The Twilight Zone, a show created and narrated by Rod Serling. This hit science fiction TV show aired on CBS from 1959 through 1964. In its weekly familiar opening, which incidentally can be seen today as reruns of the show are constantly on modern-day TV, a smooth-talking, chain-smoking Rod Serling would routinely introduce the upcoming show with an uncanny ability to cast a vision about the upcoming show, creating in the viewer either more curiosity and then usually ending in greater fear about the future and what might lie ahead. Inevitably, the goal of each show was to remind the viewer of just how uncertain and unknown the future really is, and that much of what we know or think we know is left to the imagination of each individual's experience. The common thread running through each episode was a timetable of something happening to the main actor, and then at that moment, the actor would enter the Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone was a period of time where the actor had to make some critical decisions about the zone he or she found themselves in. Kind of sounds like the same critical decision people I meet with every day face who are trying to decide if it's time to enter something we call the retirement zone. Savers who reach that point in time where work becomes too hard and life becomes too short. And the only option now is to either keep working or enter into this retirement zone, which is the subject of today's show. Well, welcome, folks, to the WorryFree Retirement. And no, I'm not that chain-smoking guy, Rod Serling, trying to predict the future, but I am that little man in the sweater vest who is trying to better help savers plan for theirs. That is retirement planning specialist and fiduciary Tony Walker. And before we get started, let me introduce a man with a bright future in store for him, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander, along with Louisville's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, picture this. You've been slaving away at work for 30 or 40 years, and all of a sudden, you're wondering what it would be like to quit working so hard and slow down so you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. Something we call in this world retirement. Well, how do you go about seeing your future and knowing what this idea of not working is going to look like? What are the dangers of retiring? What are the opportunities? And since this is a show about money, how in the world are you now going to use and enjoy your retirement zone before it's too late? And to these fears, we've got concerns and uncertainties piled on top of all of this, like complicated tax rules imposed by the government on how exactly you're supposed to use that 401k plan of yours that you've been saving all these years into. Talking about entering the Twilight Zone. Well, never fear, because today I have some really good news, and I call it the retirement window of opportunity. This is a time in life between the ages normally of 59 and a half and age 72 where you, as the actor in this thing we call retirement, can truly use and enjoy your money without all of the complicated rules imposed on you by the government. So when I return, we're going to enter the window of opportunity and show you how we at Tony Walker Financial can help you use and enjoy more of your money before it's too late. Stay tuned, I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back to give you a clearer picture of what the future holds for you and your money. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. One way you knew you were watching the TV show The Twilight Zone was the opening scene of a door and a window floating in outer space. And since I have on staff my own graphics artist, I asked Derek to create our own retirement window to give us a better look into our future and how best to predict and control it. I call this the window of opportunity. It's that period of time between age 59 and a half and age 72. A period of time I refer to as halftime. The idea of using a window to illustrate how you can be more worry-free is a good one because when you break it down, a window, just like your money, must contain something to support and separate the glass called a window pane. Today I'm going to share with you the 4 financial window panes to support your retirement during halftime. So the first financial pane we're going to talk about we must visualize is the use of your money. You know, let's face it, folks, if you save all of this money and never get to use it or can't get at it, what in the world is the point? Then they have the second frame or pane we call flexibility. In working in this business over 37 years and meeting with thousands and thousands of savers who are retired, the one thing I've learned is this: the best laid plans of mice and men will change. In other words, you have to position your money and your game plan so that it is flexible to meet the changes that are going to surely come your way in retirement. The third pane is what we call control. Now, control in us human beings is kind of a funny thing. We don't like losing control. The problem is we continually do things financially that take us out of control. Take the stock market, for example. The reason savers fear the stock market and don't like putting all of their money into it is they know they're going to feel out of control. They might realize from past experience, does 2008 remind anybody of anything? That the stock market could tank at any moment, and that uncertainty or that lack of control a lot of times leads to worry. So your plans in retirement must make you feel as if you feel like you're in control. And then finally, the fourth pane is protection. Since this show is dedicated to helping savers and is not geared towards investors and speculators, we must always make sure that some or most of our money is safe, that it is protected. That's just the mindset of savers. They don't like the thought of working all of those years and only to watch that money possibly vanish overnight. So before we talk about the tax law surrounding these 2 different ages and the years in between them, let me talk to you about why you need to be working with a retirement specialist that not only understands investments and how to deal with the tax tumor that's buried inside your 401k or IRA, but also the experience of meeting with so many people in person so that we can be realistic about enjoying this money before it's too late. Remember, folks, that's all retirement really is. It's not that complicated. It's not a mystery. The goal of retirement is to take what you've saved and spend it before it's too late, and of course, not run out of money. That's it. So how do we see into the future in terms of what you want to happen to your money and your lifestyle? Well, let's take a look at this little famous graphic I came up with years ago to demonstrate this, and I call it the 3 halves of life. And again, we've been talking about this particular phase here. So in a minute, we're going to interview our in-house tax specialist, Leanne Tinsley, to talk about this, but this is an interesting age. This age right here, this stage in life between age 59 and a half and 72 is the most flexible time to use and enjoy your money. But what happens is a lot of people are afraid to spend their money, and then we get into what we call the second half of life, and guess what? A lot of times it's too late. In fact, I had over 15 appointments in our Louisville office yesterday, and I had two different sets of circumstances, quite frankly, that were very sad. One of them were the adult children coming in to talk about their mother who has dementia and cannot continue to function for very long. And in fact, that happens more common than you realize. And then I had another young lady who lost her husband recently, and many of the plans and things they wanted to do, they're not going to be able to do it. And you know, in both cases, what they said, these age ranges these folks are already in the second half, they got more money than they know what to do with. Why is that? Because they're spending less and less. So folks, if you don't have an advisor that understands these three halves and can position your money and encourage you to use and enjoy this stuff before it's too late, I don't understand why not. So what we're going to do now, this is very important in terms of tax planning. We're going to go right now to a live Zoom call with Leanne Tinsley, and let's check in with Leanne right now. Good morning, Leanne.
Good morning, Tony.
Thanks once again for allowing me to rope you into this or get you into this, whatever the case is. You're a valued employee. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, here we go. We're talking about this window of opportunity, Leanne, between the ages of 59 and a half and age 72. So as our in-house tax expert on these matters, and we deal with this all the time with our clients and prospective clients, let's first talk about the significance of age 59 and a half, if you'd like to define that, please.
Okay, well, 59 and a half is the magic number where you are no longer assessed that 10% penalty for early withdrawal on qualified accounts.
That's a very important point because, if you all of a sudden you're 57, you got an IRA and you don't know it, and you take out $200,000, not only are you taxed on that, but there's an extra 20,000 grand tossed to the government as well, right?
That's exactly right, Tony.
Okay, so we're talking about how much flexibility you have in these years between age 59 and a half and 72. And tell the folks a little bit about how much we encourage our clients to use and enjoy this money and the role we play to make sure if they do pull out additional money to enjoy, that they don't accidentally go into additional tax brackets.
That's right, Tony. That is the magic time when we encourage our clients to use their money. Between those ages of 59 and a half and 72, many times our clients' taxable income is going to drop as they go into retirement. And we want to encourage them to use the money in those qualified accounts before those RMDs kick in at age 72.
Very, very good. And speaking of that, great segue. So let's go to the RMD, the required minimum distribution. Tell the folks a little bit about that and how that's changed from the old 70 and a half age and the significance of that.
Well, the Secure Act did change the age to 72 when the government is requiring people to start taking those distributions from their qualified accounts. And that's something we do monitor for all of our clients. As a matter of fact, we'll be touching well over 1,000 accounts, scheduling those RMDs this year for our clients.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful service because we have so many different accounts sometimes for the same client. You'll look at the Schwab accounts and maybe the annuities, and we try to do our best to pick the most efficient account to take it out of. So we appreciate your hard work there. And finally, maybe somebody out there doesn't realize the penalty. You thought 10% was bad if you take it out prior to 59 and a half. Tell folks what will happen if after age 72 you miss or goof up on one of these required minimum distributions.
Well, the IRS is going to come in with a 50% penalty on that, Tony, if you miss or calculate that incorrectly.
No, that's a biggie. So, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this particular dissertation from Leanne, but the moral of the story is if you've got an IRA 401k and you're in this magical window of opportunity between 59 and a half and age 72, please contact us at no cost or obligation. We'll be happy to walk through some different options that we can provide you that can make that 401k and that IRA much more efficient tax-wise. So in the meantime, Leanne, I'll let you get back to work. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Tony.
You're welcome. Oh, by the way, folks, before we take a break, we've got a wonderful download on required minimum distributions. These are the most common questions and answers from yours truly. You'll want to go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You're going to click on downloads, type in your name, and it's a brand new white paper called RMDs in the 21st Century. You're going to really enjoy this. I encourage you to download it. All right, I'm going to come back in just a second. You stay tuned. When I get the whiteboard out, an interesting Tony in the Trenches question about what can you do with money that's sitting over at the bank languishing along, or those of you who are worried about a potential stock market correction. Good stuff coming your way. I'll be right back. With the stock market at all-time highs and our nation's debt through the roof, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Now may be the best time to safeguard more of your 401k. Let's get started today by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker, and our Tony in the Trenches, this is an interesting Tony in the Trenches. It says, Tony, I'm sick and tired of getting 0.5% at the bank and worried that the stock market cannot continue to go up. Besides annuities, what other options do you guys offer? I don't want all of my money tied up. And I put this from Benjamin Graham. And you might be saying, Benjamin Graham. That sounds really familiar. Did he really send that? Because Benjamin Graham was a very famous investor. In fact, he wrote this book, one of the all-time favorites, called The Intelligent Investor. So what I did was, one of the quotes Mr. Graham had in his book, he said that back after the Depression, this was years ago when he lived, of course, but Americans were so worried about the stock market because most people had lost their shirt in it that 90%, listen to this, 90% of the people when asked what they thought of the stock market in those days said they thought it was a gamble. So what I'm saying is many people watching this show are like those folks. They maybe don't mind investing some of their money in the stock market, but how does this work if you try to parlay some of your money from safe territory that used to make 4 and 5% at the bank, and maybe you don't want to tie everything up in annuities? What other options do you have? Well, we've got the answer for that, and it's called the Split Ira Concept. Now, why is this so unique? You see, a lot of advisors are either going to want to invest all your money or they're going to want to put it all in annuities. What we've found over the years is you can do both, and for savers, this works very, very well. So what I thought I would do in our remaining time is give some of those folks out there that maybe feel like that last question some options into what they can do specifically in that Charles Schwab bucket. So let's walk over to the whiteboard. Hadn't been over here to the big one in a while. And basically we're going to call this the 5 windows of opportunity. You see, at Tony Walker Financial, we manage all of these portfolios. The money is placed with Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab is a brokerage company. They are not an insurance company. They're not in the business of issuing annuities. They're where we go to get stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and bank products. And within Tony Walker Financial, we manage everything. Charles Schwab is just the custodian of your money. So let's take a quick look at the 5 different options you have. The first option or portfolio is called ultra conservative. Okay, that's option number 1. The second option you have to invest money with us is called conservative. Oh, by the way, sometimes people have several different types of accounts, and we can select different options as far as how much risk you want to take. Very, very flexible. The other is what we call a moderate portfolio or risk. The next, again, it gets more and more risky. Of course, you got more and more potential growth, is called moderate growth. And we don't have a lot of clients that select this portfolio. If you do, with some of their money, we refer to that as aggressive. So you've got 5 different portfolios. You could choose one or more of those. Now again, why do we use Charles Schwab? Remember the 4 pains of money. In fact, let's throw that up full screen again, Aaron. We're talking about these 4 pains of use, flexibility, and control. Now, you're not going to have as much protection with Charles Schwab unless you come way down here on the ultra conservative, but man, are you going to have a lot of use, flexibility, and control. It just works wonders inside our Split Ira Concept. So a person might have $300,000 or $400,000 in a 401k, and they say, you know what, Tony, I don't want to tie all that money up, and I have to have some of it liquid, but I don't want it all over just sitting at the bank earning next to nothing in interest. So in this example, we use something called Riskalyze, where we help understand how much risk you're willing to take with one of these particular buckets. So let's use an example of each one. Somebody might say, well, Tony, I'm willing to put $100,000 in conservative. What kind of risk or return are we talking about? Well, it kind of works like this. If red is kind of the area of where it's going to kind of gravitate to, It could make several percentage points in interest. It could lose a little bit. But really with the ultra conservative, in most cases, your window, your ups and downs is a very small margin. So for those of you who don't like a lot of risk, but you're trying to earn maybe 2, 3, 4%, this is a good place to consider. Again, don't rush out and do this. Talk to us. We want to go through this analysis, but that's how that would work. Now we move over to conservative. The window starts getting a little bigger, meaning you could make even more return on your money, but yes, going the other way, you have the possibility of losing more of your principal. That's called the conservative portfolio. Generally, this has up to about 10% of stocks. This has probably 10 to 25. It fluctuates and we monitor that. Kind of moving along, moderate. Yep, the window of potential growth gets bigger, but so too does the window of potential loss. Then we get over here. This is a very popular one. Again, I wouldn't put all of our clients' money in this, but it's very, very popular because it's done very well. As we record this show again in June 23rd, 2021, the market's done really well, and so has this portfolio. It's done very, very well. People are happy with that. And then finally, again, the margin of error gets potentially huge as far as what you can make, but also what you can lose. So as we think about these different portfolios and this split IRA concept, the next question you probably have is, Tony, I like these different windows of opportunity. I didn't realize you did all this stuff. And I knew you did all the annuities and everything else, but didn't know you had these options. How do we go about figuring out, number one, how much you might want to put into our Charles Schwab platform? And then number two, which one or more of these potential portfolios would we place your money into? Well, the only way we're going to know that is we've got to meet. So right now, here's what I'd like you to do. If you're sitting there with a 401k plan that's eligible to be rolled over, if you're thinking about retiring, recently retired, even if you're over the age of 72 and you got a former 401k still sitting there, or even, yes, you've recently received an inheritance. We're getting more and more people contacting us as baby boomers are starting to inherit money from their parents. Yes, you can do these types of portfolios. All you've got to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started button, and we will set up a time to see you and visit with you by phone, or if it warrants, I'll be happy to see you personally at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. Or, of course, you can always just call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, we've been talking a lot about windows of opportunities. Does the Bible say anything about windows? It doesn't really, but it does say something about foggy mirrors and what that has to do with our faith. There we go. There's the old tumbler. I'm definitely going to need a cup of coffee for this one. You stay tuned. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back. Looking to roll over your 401k? Then log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and learn just how easy it is to roll over and safeguard your 401k. Do it today. Our theme today revolves around windows and window panes and the idea of seeing more clearly into the future. And I'll have to admit, I know this sounds a bit odd coming from a little man in a sweater vest, but one of my pet peeves is dirty windows. Actually, dirty glass of any kind, even including mirrors. Doesn't matter whether it's the windshield of my car or the windows of my home or office building, I hate to see a window that is hazy, dirty, grimy, and even worse, my car's windshield covered possibly in splattered dead bugs or, heaven forbid, bird poop. Oh, speaking of mirrors and seeing things more clearly, my wife Susan has one of those mirrors that magnifies everything to the nth degree so you can see everything on your face, including every little blemish. Now, today's modern day mirrors are very, very clear and powerful and will reflect back to the subject as much detail as one wishes to see. But clear-cut mirrors haven't always been around. No, according to the website mirrorhistory.com, back in the day when Jesus walked the face of the earth, mirrors were either made of crude stone, polished brass, or copper, or thrown together with metal-backed glass, all of which made it quite difficult to tell much of anything of the reflection one was trying to see. One more reason my wife Susan wouldn't have enjoyed being back during biblical times. Funny though, one of my favorite and most encouraging verses of scriptures just happens to be referencing foggy mirrors. And it's described in 1 Corinthians 13:12, where the Apostle Paul says the following about this verse. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will know fully, just as I also have been fully known. So what did Paul see, and what was it he knew he would one day see more clearly? Well, of course, Paul is trying to see more clearly God. But it gets even better than this, because what this verse tells the believer is the following: that as we look to see more and more of God in our lives, as we grow in our faith, as we look into the words of Scripture found in your Bible, these words will allow us to more clearly see and reflect on the mysteries of God, to begin to see Him for who He is and what He is and how much He truly cares for us, culminating in the ultimate eternal promise that one day when we do see Him face to face, we will see God in all of His glory and realize that all along He has fully known us. So my friend, no matter what you are going through, no matter how foggy this thing called faith is, you keep looking into the mirror of the Word of God, your Bible, and I assure you over time His face, His grace, His love, His mercy will begin to look more and more clear, reminding you and I that our future is more clear and more certain than we ever thought. Well, speaking of looking into a foggy and unclear mirror, does your current financial picture look a tad fuzzy right now? Might this be the time in your life that you allow someone to inspect your money and your plans for how best to use and enjoy it before it's too late? And what about that window of opportunity we've been talking about, that window between the ages of 59 and a half and age 72? I call it halftime. Are you taking advantage of making the most of your 401k plan, your IRA or lump sum pension? Well, to which I would reply, if not, why not? Why not take advantage of this period of time where we can sit down, where you have all this flexibility, all of this control, and all of this protection and use of your money? Why not act now and take advantage of speaking in person with me, someone with more than 37 years of experience, someone who has literally counseled thousands and thousands of savers, someone who can make this picture much more clear on how best to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. To take advantage of meeting with me, either by phone or in person, all you got to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and you're going to click on that Let's Get Started button. Now, that information is sent confidentially to our Bowling Green, Kentucky offices, and you will be contacted to set up either a phone call with myself, or if it warrants, I will be happy to meet with you in person at no cost or obligation at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. Or, of course, you can always just call the toll-free number on your screen. Oh, and by the way, one more thing. Don't forget to download the free download that we have, the free white paper called Managing Your RMD in the 21st Century. It's absolutely free by going to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. I've enjoyed being with you, but you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.